Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to this regular meeting for the Cowlitz County Board of Commissioners, our business meeting for Monday morning. This is our report from our administrative services and other folks who show up. We'll start off with a report from Human Resources, followed by an update from Risk Management, an update with Budget, Corrections, Information Technology, and then Miscellaneous. With that, welcome, Jessica.
Good morning, Jessica Warren, Human Resources. A couple of my items got pushed till tomorrow afternoon, I think. So I do have one notification from Superior Court based off of some movement within the department. So Bree Bratton, she was promoted to the Superior Court Manager. So they plan on filling her position, which is an admin deputy. And then Jill Page, she was an admin deputy and she transferred to a position with the auditor's office. So they plan on filling her position as well. At the moment, they still have Danielle Paul's position vacant because she was promoted to the Superior Court Administrator. However, they're not doing anything with that position at the moment.
Okay. Thank you. Any questions on that? I think we were all kind of aware of those movements happening, so appreciate that.
That's the only item I have this morning, unless you have any questions for me.
Any updates on the negotiating schedule?
I believe our first one will be starting end of May, beginning of June.
Okay,
That should be with Local 334 Public Works. They typically kick things off, and then most of them will be starting probably beginning of August and into September. The fall will definitely be the busiest for us with all of them likely going on.
great. Any questions for Jessica?
No questions.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Let's see, Victoria. Good morning. I see you online.
Good morning, commissioners.
Hi.
I don't have much to report this morning. Just crunch time with the learning management system. So trying to finalize a lot of items with that. That's really all I have.
All right. Any questions for Victoria?
No. Are there any issues with the educational stuff?
No issues. No, things are going well. Right now, it's just a lot of data entry for historical information. So that's what's really taking a lot of the time currently, but the trainings are pretty much set up. So that's well.
Yeah. And the data entry is actual manually done?
Yes, I have to enter all of the latest trainings into a spreadsheet provided by the NeoGov platform.
Okay. Can you get the data in electronic form to start with and just massage it into a CSV, which then Excel will suck in automatically?
Yes, so I pull the data from Laserfish. So that part is already pretty easy to pull from. But then I just have to sort through the latest training, and then there's some information that is required by the NeoGov system that the Laserfish does not report on. So I just have to enter additional information.
Okay, so you've entered what information you have automatically, and then now you've got to go through each of the records individually? Or you're doing it
Correct.
all manually?
It's a lot of copying and pasting.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
All right. Thank you, Victoria. Appreciate that.
You're welcome.
Now, budget report. Who gets to do the honors? Both of you.
Sit here. Okay, Tracy's here with me, but good morning, commissioners. I'm going to be working on a budget.
Go ahead and introduce yourself, just
Okay.
for the folks who are listening in.
Okay. I am Kathy Funk Baxter, and I am the finance manager.
Thank you. Welcome.
I am working on the budget amendment. Should be submitting something next week for that. And then also our new analyst starts next week. And then finally, I'm working on monthly financial reports, and those should be complete this week.
Great. We keep hearing in the media that there might possibly be a slowdown in the economy. Any evidence of that from the revenues that have been coming in?
I haven't seen it yet, but that's why I'm working on the monthly financial reports.
Sure. Okay.
I've seen nothing.
Yeah.
Revenues are still maintaining.
Yeah.
Yep.
Not necessarily growing, but they're not falling. So
Not
that's,
growing,
yeah.
But they're not falling.
So that begs the follow-up question. Suppose you did see something starting to taper down. What thoughts or actions do you think about then?
I haven't experienced that here yet.
Commissioners, I would just say that we'd watch them for a couple months to see if we see a trend starting. And if so, we'd work with the board and just kind of give you heads up along the way and then work with you every week and just let you know kind of what we're seeing. But property tax statements went out. And so we're hopeful because of our limited streams of revenue for the sales tax and the property taxes. We just continue to watch them. But April, the end of April should be a telltale sign for us locally to see if people have paid their property taxes. And then in the meantime, we'll just continue to watch the sales tax. Last month, the sales tax was great again, so
Back up.
it was back up.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And next week, actually this week, we will get the January numbers. So that'll be good. We'll kind of see where we're at.
And if you haven't gotten a copy of it, I think, Scott, what's his name? The economist who makes the assessment for the state, the economic assessment. And he's been describing Cowlitz County's economy as just fine, adding employment. So that's always good. And he's one to wave the red flag also. That's another resource.
Right.
I can't remember his last name. Blair, I think, something like that.
We will continue to watch, but we monitor it as the sales tax comes in. So it's just a matter of where we fall. Hopefully we don't.
Okay, let me push you a little bit more. Say 3 months have gone by and you see a decline each month. Now, how would you advise us to handle that?
For me,
Whichever of the two of you would.
I was just gonna say, for one, I would let the board know, as we decline and where we're at. Let the board know, and then working with our HR department, let them know as negotiations open up, kind of what we're in for and what we're seeing and trending. But it's kind of, we have a 2-year budget coming up, so it'll be kind of like where we fall about the time that we kind of open the budget up and see where the trends this last year have been. And hopefully the economy at least tapers out by then, or maybe interest rates change. We have a lot riding on the what ifs at this point.
Okay, let me drive a little harder then. In 2008, 2009, some bad things happened, and in 2010, we had an employee count of blah, blah, I don't remember the number. And the population at the time was equal to some number. How do they scale today? So our population's probably gone up only, I think, probably the chairman recalls, we've probably gone up maybe 10%, 100,000 to
We're-
110,000.
Yeah, we're about 112, 113 right now, the latest estimate.
Yeah, so call it 10%.
I was gonna say, and I bet you our employee position numbers are up at least that much, if not more.
Right, and
Yep.
that's what I'm concerned about. So
too.
I would have expected something saying, well, I will tell you immediately to be cautious on hiring. And the argument of replacement always needs to be justified. Just
Yep.
because somebody occupied that seat doesn't mean we should find somebody else to occupy it.
I agree.
Okay,
So with the budget cycle set to begin at the beginning of July is every year. We have to give our departments notice so that if we'd expect a decline, that they're not going to be able to have the same numbers that they submitted, that we've got to do some contraction. It's only fair, give them plenty of notice in order to make the adjustments that are necessary by the time we finish the budget in December.
I agree. The more
So-
notice that we let our employees know, better, but I don't think we're at that point by no means at this point. I think right now we're kind of status quo and holding our own. I know we have a lot of openings, which does help. We do have, just so the board knows, we do have some of those Blake temporary positions through June 30. Those should be going away June 30 unless I hear otherwise, but those are slated to go away. So we are already planning on that. So that's stuff that we'll have to worry about, moving employees either into full-time positions and or the position goes away.
If I remember correctly, though, we have a cushion with our ending fund balances being far in excess of the 1 month that we're required to have.
We do now, yes.
Yeah, so I mean, so that also cushions us.
Correct.
Until the cuts have to come, if they come.
Hopefully they won't.
yeah, I'm trying to suggest too that it's really a failure on our part if we end up having to do something like 2008, 2009. But we can't control everything.
Right.
So somewhere in there, I would want attrition to handle the changes if that was on the line. In fact, we should have a general attitude that when somebody retires or leaves, that we really inspect very closely why it is we need that person. Can we not job share more effectively? That kind of thing. Such that we don't have to take a heavy hand at some time.
I agree.
Okay, thank you.
And that's what I'm doing downstairs too right now. I'm stepping back and taking a look. Yep.
Right. Commissioner Dahl, you've had quite a bit of experience weathering the financial storms
Yeah,
in your career. Are you noticing those telltale signs? Or is it just part of the uncertainty of the economy that kind of does its thing?
it's just kind of the uncertainty. I haven't, back before 2007 and 8, I was watching because I'd been involved with mortgages for a long time, watching a lot of these nonsense mortgages. And I said, this can't go on. It just can't go on. And you start to see a little bit of that again because it happens and people stop doing it, then everything goes well and they start stretching it a little bit. So I just pay attention to those type of things, these no doc type things or anything that just doesn't make sense. But I think we're just kind of weathering along. I worry about the inflationary aspect, and I worry about the debt because that can go along. It just goes along till it doesn't go along. I mean, it's not like it gives you a 6-month heads up. It's giving us a heads up right now, and you just don't know when it happens. But I mean, you got years of history. You look at countries that have gotten themselves in that position, and then all of a sudden it just collapses. So that kind of stuff worries me. But as Commissioner Morton said, I just would exercise caution on anything we rehire and then let attrition do its job over time and just find things you can do. That's what we tried to do in business. Now I work for a company didn't take a policy of firing. They had capital that they could weather that stuff, but you'd let attrition handle that for you and not actually take people out of work. And that would be my preference also.
And adding a little to your statement on the debt at 3.5%, we're paying $1 trillion a year to service the debt. I don't know about you, but $1 trillion doesn't sound as significant as $1 million. That's pretty substantial.
It's a chunk of money.
Yeah.
All right.
We're just a lot of optimists here.
It's Monday.
Any other questions or comments? No. Great. Well, thank you both. Appreciate it. You know, gentlemen, at some point, Tracy's going to stop coming to the 9 o'clock, but good morning, Marin.
Good morning.
We're in.
Marin Fox, Director of Corrections. I'll give a little update on our population. Today, we're at a 219 with 39 bookings over the weekend. As I reported last week, our bookings are creeping up to pre-COVID levels, but the releases are outpacing. So our population has dropped quite a bit in the last few months. And as I stated last week, I've given up predicting anything. I have no idea what,
Yeah.
I have no idea what the population is going to do. There are a lot of factors. We do have an item on tomorrow's agenda under the consent agenda. It's an amendment to our Summit Food Services contract. Just a little bit of background, we've been in that contract since 2019. Last year, we signed an amendment because we changed the staffing model in the kitchen from 3 county cooks and a Summit manager to the opposite, 1 county kitchen manager and 3 Summit cooks. That was a result of just not getting any candidates to fill cook positions when we'd had retirements. So we signed a 1-year agreement that was out of sync with our normal contract. So we signed it in March for 1 year to see how it worked out, to see if we wanted to continue with that model, and we do. So there are no changes to the pricing and no changes to anything. This will just get us in line with our normal contract calendar. And that then the 5-year contract will be up in August of 24, I believe. And we'll go out to bid. We'll go out to RFP as we typically do on those contracts at the 5-year mark.
Great. Thank you. Questions?
I don't have a question on this. I just have, I'll ask you a question on taking people in, just because I try to understand it. I know you work with local agencies and you come up with, and I've seen the list. We take everybody that does this.
Yep.
I get that. So if an officer arrests somebody under one of those, they just automatically come to the jail, or do
Yes.
they have to? They must have to let, or they just show up, or do they have to let somebody know they're bringing somebody over? I'm not,
They just show up.
okay,
Yep.
so it's just that easy. They don't have to.
No.
Now, if something's not on the list, then they clear it with either you or you have a designee that you clear it with.
The typical setup is they're going to call and talk to the sergeant on duty. They're running the floor. They know what our housing availability is, and they make that decision. If an agency is not satisfied with that answer, and that does happen, sometimes they will call a captain or myself to plead their case as to why they want someone booked outside of the restrictions. That doesn't happen very often because
Okay,
we don't really have much in the way of restrictions right now, but sometimes they want somebody brought in on, maybe driving with the license suspended, a couple warrants or something if they've had a lot of contact with them. And we work pretty hard to accommodate.
it's just
Different
kind of
agencies.
case by case type thing, but anything that's under your guys' agreed upon list, they can just bring them right in.
That's correct.
Okay,
Yep.
good. Help me understand a little bit.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
And
The bad
pre-COVID,
optics come
I'm sorry.
when, the bad optics come when there's a very quick turnaround between them arriving and them getting bailed out.
right, or being released. I mean, if they're brought in on misdemeanors, oftentimes they are going to be released by the court. The judges will release them the next day. Not always, but on lower level crimes, that is pretty typical.
Yeah, but that's not your call.
That's not our
Yeah.
call, right? Right. And just for perspective, pre-COVID, our average daily bookings were maybe 20 to 25, 22 in that range. And lately we're in the high teens. So we're getting
Okay.
back to kind
Getting
of,
back, yeah.
Yep. we have some people, some officers that have never seen what real booking looks like, and they're in shock and awe.
Well, and the Blake decision probably took some of that down too, right?
Correct,
Yeah.
right.
So just sort of off the top of your head, over the last 3 months, let's say, what has the average pop been?
I bet we're at this around what we are today. I bet our average is probably 220 or something like that, because we've been as high as 255.
Yeah, because I recall before I left, it was climbing up
Mhm.
and it was above this. And so as you've opened up or reduced the restrictions on the booking, I would have expected this to have a sort of a semi-monotonic increase. And
Right.
It doesn't look like it.
Well, they're released and the courts are releasing and getting people sentenced. On Friday, I believe we sent eight inmates to prison. So
I'm sorry, I did.
we had 8 inmates go to prison on Friday, so they're sentenced in Superior Court. Pre-COVID or during COVID, they were doing pickups every other week. They're back to doing pickups every week. And I do think we're seeing just more sentencing, more movement in Superior Court. So people are processing and getting out. Our bookings, our releases are exceeding our bookings.
Okay, my understanding then that when they go to before the judge, they get released on bail or 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 something like that, or they go to trial and get convicted of a felony and get sent north or something like that. And that accounts for why it seems like it's not climbing.
Right. More people are being sentenced. More people are taking a plea. So it's not everybody goes to trial. In fact, most don't. They'll plea out. So more people are either completing their sentences or going to prison for the longer term. They've completed their process with us and have moved on.
Yeah, that still seems strange to me because presumably we apprehend and put people in jail with a moderate amount of suspicion that they belong in jail. And so when we let them out of jail, categorically, it sounds like, and that doesn't seem like the right thing's happening. And I know
Yeah.
you don't send them out the door
Right.
after that.
So
It's one of those constant balancing struggles between protecting public health, public safety, and recognizing people are innocent until they're proven guilty. You gotta have a trial to prove them guilty, and that takes a long time sometimes.
Right.
And you know, it's tough because obviously if people are a danger and they recognize that.
Yeah.
Yeah, but-
The bail's denied or it's.
But that's the reason I used, 3 months or something.
Yeah.
You can use 6 months. All the noise of all those oddities should wipe out and eventually should just see a climb.
Right. And we were seeing that. Typically our bookings and our releases are close, but the bookings are higher than our releases. So, maybe our average booking is 16 and average release will be 14 or 15. And so that'll creep our population up. Unusually, right now, we're seeing, an average booking of maybe 19 and releases are going to be 20 or 21. So it's flipped and that'll bring us down.
So when you're talking releases, those are people who are getting bail, and also included in that is people who've gone through and been adjudicated and now they're off to prison. That's a release too.
Right.
So all that's
All that trapped in.
is trapped in your release. So
Right.
it might be interesting to know how many you're getting on bail and how many are going further on. I mean, if the number of cases that are being sent to prison, a different location are growing, then it would seem to be that the system is getting through stuff a little faster.
Well, there was an interesting headline in the newspaper
Mhm.
this week that said Cowlitz County rates number one in terms of the number of
20.
people in prison per thousand.
Per county.
Per
yeah.
100,000. Yeah,
Something
top
like that. Mm-hmm.
county for that. And it was like, I heard from somebody who had a good friend in Yakima, and they were quite upset. They got beat out for number one.
Not a good one to be the winner on.
But it was on those going to prison. So
Mhm.
I think it's a good thing for those of us who want the trials to be back there and people
Right.
getting punished for the.
Yeah, it's good. We had somebody leave for prison on Friday that had been with us for I think 2 years on an attempted murder charge, and he finally was sentenced and left us. He had more seniority than a couple officers. And the release is, just to be clear, a release is going to be a dismissal, so the judge can dismiss. The judge can release on their own personal recognizance. That means they bypassed bail. They've said, we're not going to set bail. We're just going to release this person. Or they set a bail amount and the inmate has bailed out. Or they get sentenced to go to prison. Those are the ways they're going to be leaving us. And I can put together some numbers comparing that maybe for next week. I'll try to do it by next week to kind of drill down on what the bookings are and how people are being released.
Yeah, it's, the data doesn't speak cohesively and you're kind of at the end of the line.
Right,
And
yeah.
so we're picking on you because you're here. We hear from District Court, Superior Court, we need more people. The OPD, we need more people. We got too many cases. The general sentiment in the street appears to be just go to Target, pick up what you need and walk out and everything will be all right. And so the scofflaws are out there. And it just doesn't add up that the numbers wouldn't be climbing. Prior to the COVID experience, we were sitting at
260.
290,
260.
260.
I believe our 2019 ADP was 261.
And of course, the Blake decision obfuscates everything. It makes it
Changes the whole
Yeah.
thing.
Okay, another topic
Sure.
on the contract that we'll see tomorrow, that
Mhm.
there's a, can you tell me what the price increase is or?
There is none, there's no price increase. This is the same sliding scale we signed last March. So no change. It's just, we did a 1 year to see how the new setup on staffing.
Got
would
it.
work.
Okay, so there is no exercise of a cost escalation?
No, it's a sliding scale dependent on our population.
Yeah, no,
Price
I'm
moves,
just thinking, everybody that goes and prepares food knows things are a little bit out of whack there. And I
Sure.
think if I were the provider, I'd be saying, can you help? And
We
I
were
thought we had
surprised.
cost escalation in the contract.
We were surprised they didn't. No, this is the same, this is zero price increase and they didn't ask for one. And
Okay,
so that's in their court.
Okay.
They agreed to the same scale.
Yeah.
That may be different when we go out to bid. I would anticipate when we go out to bid in 24, we'll probably see some bigger numbers, but for now,
Right.
and then one last thing.
sure.
You are recuperating, I take it,
Yeah.
personally speaking.
Yeah, yes.
Good.
I'm feeling better. I'm just still a little congested, but it's kind of going around. We've had
I think
quite
it's
a
the
few steps.
company you keep.
Huh?
I think it's the company you keep.
It could be, could be. All right, anything else?
All right. Thank you.
Thanks, Maureen.
Appreciate it. And information technology.
Morning, Commissioners. Kim
Morning.
Hort, IT Director. I would like to formally request that we use the budget that we've set aside for summer help. So I was coming to the board to get that approval. First off,
Could you repeat that, please?
yes. So I'm asking formally to use the summer help program. It's been money that we've set aside and have budgeted, but I was informed by HR that we have to formally request to use summer help, and I just want to get your approval.
So is this monies used to hire people just temporarily during the summer or
Yes.
or is it towards overtime for the existing staff?
No, this is for summer help.
Okay. And how many do you end up using each?
Just one.
So it's just a. And what is it that they work on?
So what they do is, last year we implemented a physical audit. So they will go around the county departments and do a physical check on our inventory. We are implementing new inventory management standards and policies. We don't have a very effective and thorough inventory process. So we're going to clean that up more. We are doing our phone replacement project. So we'll be busy with pulling out the Avaya equipment and deploying Cisco. So there's going to be some some work unboxing and inventorying our assets and
So along those lines, I'm surprised you're only going for a single summer hire.
I haven't found that we need more at this time. Again, last year was my first year as director and I leveraged summer help to do the physical inventory and kind of pull in, and that seems to be a good use of their time, along with overseeing like shredding hard drives and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So I don't think we need more than one at this time.
Well, I would encourage you to, despite my earlier arguments, to keep an eye open for, I know there's a 18 to 21-year-old person out there going to LCC,
I've been working with LCC.
and the guy really knows, really knows a lot. And there may be a whiz software developer. Don't let him get past you.
I'm actually working with Brandon Ray at LCC. He is the IT director over there. And then I've also been reached out from, they have their exchange students. And so there is one that possibly may be available in June.
Yeah.
So we can definitely consider them as well.
Okay, so I make sure I understood what you said earlier. So you had requested more than one person in the budget, and now you're saying you're only going to use one person?
I only need one. I'm just saying that I've also been in communications to see if we could leverage an intern instead with LCC. I just want to make sure that I'm able to use the funds that I have.
Okay, I've never been in with an IT department that couldn't use more people. And I don't mean that sarcastically. I mean that actually. There's always more work that needs to be done.
Sure.
And part of our function with summer hires is actually to seed the next group of employees. And so I wouldn't want you to pass up opportunities.
Understood.
Okay.
Yeah. You know, when we instituted the summer intern program at Fiber, it really turned into a real beneficial thing. You had, kids at a lower cost. It's during vacation stuff, and you could have them work on projects that normally you wanted other people to be doing other things and not have to take time away to do these projects. Plus, every once in a while, you run across a gym that you wanted to have come work for you. So I'm kind of a fan of these intern programs. I think they can be real beneficial.
Yeah, and I wouldn't always think of them as menial or trivial. One of my summer jobs was at the very substantial place where they were doing some stuff, and every now and then I took down a whole system because I had my hands on it. I'm not recommending you do that, but there's got to be somewhere in the line where they're not just faxing or copying.
Understood. Our summer help from last year did more than just unboxing. He imaged our rollout devices. So he worked with our technicians with hands-on experience and getting exposure on how to, install programs. And, it's more than just going around and looking at an asset tag. So I didn't go into detail about what other things our summer help did last year, but we do expose them to some good opportunities and learning.
Well, if Arn shut things down, he's off the list for intern.
Yeah, I may be pressing too hard on this. Earlier we heard that HR, I think it was, Victoria Blossel trying to, saying that things were being essentially cut and paste over. That's an assignment I would give to an LCC intern and say, write me the program to suck the fields out in the right place, put them in the right place. And if you don't have the data for that field, put a flag there that you can see it. And then you reduce a lot of errors and you save a lot of time in the long run. And the employee gets to learn more. Yeah,
The only other thing I had today is I was gonna thank him. I had a constituent of mine that I actually used for IT work when I was with Reynolds Credit Union back in, the early 2000s. And he sent me a note saying when he does emails, everything shows up, and wondered why we don't have a privacy policy. Well, I always forget about our open public meetings and our PR system in government. So Kim was gracious and helped me understand that that stuff happens in government.
All right. Thank you. Appreciate that. Do we have a problem with her request?
No.
Okay, you're good to go.
Thank you, commissioners.
We're
was
at
that it?
I can keep talking.
Okay. That
I
sounds like,
don't have much to report. We're
That-
just
that-
finalizing our contract for the phone RFP. So it's not on the agenda yet, but we're trying to iron out the.
yeah, you were thinking you'd get all that implemented by, do I recall right, in June or something like that?
What was that? Like when to have it actually implemented?
Yeah, the new phone system,
By end of July.
end of July,
Mhm.
that June, okay.
That one, yes. The other J month. There is an issue with inventory lead times. So we're trying to acquire and make sure that we get things on the books. So that's kind of just a common element is, technology is hard to get in the door.
So we are rapidly approaching the end of March, and one of your client agencies is supposed to be opening their office building. 911, have you heard that they are cutting ties with us finally for their computers, or are they lingering for another month or 2 or 3 or 8 or 10?
So I meet with them at least once a month, maybe sometimes twice a month to iron out. They're still heavily connected to the county, and that will always be. I even spoke with Mike Moss. We're still in the negotiations of like, well, we provide this and you have that. They're wanting to use like our state connectivity because theirs isn't up and running yet. So there's factors of where
Mhm.
we have resources that they're needing. So I want to make sure that I want to make sure that we articulate that in our interlocal agreement. So we've been having lots and lots of conversations about that. So it's a grueling process because it's like one conversation leads into another conversation. So it's kind of been this onion layer conversation. But I believe July is when they'll hopefully be in their site
Yeah.
and working.
They have a date in July they're shooting for.
Yeah, well,
Hopefully it'll.
I've heard that
all
story
work.
before.
Yeah, I
We
know.
all have, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you, I appreciate that.
So, Mr. Chairman, did
yeah.
Steve Jones ever contact you?
Who?
Steve Jones from the Discovery Club, Steve Jones.
Yes,
He did contact you about 911?
no.
He
No.
contacted me when I was out, and I just sent him your way because you're also
Yeah,
on the board.
I'll look back through it. I actually talked with him on Wednesday, he didn't say anything, so. Okay,
Yang sabe.
yeah. We're at the point of miscellaneous. Is there anything anyone wants to bring up for our discussion in terms of general administrative services? Looking at the call in. All right, I don't see any hands up, so
Hmm.
any citizen comments? We don't have an executive session today, so we are done with this morning session. About 25 minutes until our 10 o'clock session begins. So I guess we'll stand in recess and keep everything connected, I think. All right, thank you.